Hello and welcome to A Piece of Cake, Utah. I'm your host, Katherine O'Donnell, and today we're going to be teaching you how to make modeling chocolate, or sometimes you may have heard it called candy clay, something like that. But we're going to make some, and I'll show you a couple fun decorations and things you can do with it, and yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. Okay, so the first thing you want to start off with is some chocolate. Now you definitely want to use melting chocolate. You don't want to use like Hershey Kisses or chocolate chips or things like that. That kind of chocolate has not been tempered so that it won't set up correctly. Anytime you use any kind of chocolate with your cake decorating and things like that, you mostly want to use the candy melts that have been specifically tempered so that they can set up and perform well for you. So we're going to start off with the bag here. You can pretty much find these in 14-ounce bags, 1-pound bags, things like that. The recipe for the modeling chocolate is just 14 ounces of melting chocolate and a 1/3 cup of karo syrup, and that's it. So we'll show you how to put those together and have some fun. So this bag is a 1-pound bag of melting chocolate, and since I only need 14 ounces, I'm going to take out, it's about 1/4 of a cup that you take out, and then you've got your 14 ounces. So we'll set that aside. Pour those into my bowl, and we'll melt it. Now when you start melting chocolate, especially when it's in this form that hasn't been melted yet, you want to make sure that you melt it for just a short period of time, stir it up, melt it for another short period of time. If you try to go for longer periods of time, like a minute or something like that, you can run the risk of burning your chocolate. So you want to make sure that you do it in short increments, and that'll work out the best. So we'll start out with 30 seconds. We'll melt it, stir it together, and of course it won't be all completely melted in 30 seconds, but as you stir it up, you help disperse the chocolate that has melted, and it helps to melt the rest of the chocolate evenly so it doesn't burn on you. Just a few more seconds. You can find melting chocolate pretty much anywhere. You can find it online, you can find it in grocery stores, at cake decorating supply stores, just pretty much anywhere you buy this kind of stuff, you can find your melting chocolate. If you're going to be using a specific color for your modeling chocolate, I prefer to start off with chocolate that's already that color. You can color it yourself, whether it's already made into melting or modeling clay, or if it's not yet, you can color it with some candy colors. You want to make sure that it's candy color because those are oil-based. The gel-based colors for your cake decorating supplies and things like that, those are water-based, and so they won't mix well with your chocolate. They'll actually seize it up, and so you want to make sure you use the oil-based candy colors. Okay, so you can kind of see here that this is just, there's a little bit melted, not too much, but this is okay. We'll just stick it back in for another 30 seconds, and I've stirred it up nicely so that everything will help melt and mold together without burning it. Some other things that you'll want to have on hand when you're using a lot of melting chocolate and things like that is just one of these little squeeze bottles. These work out really, really good, especially when you're done using it. You can just keep it in the bottle and then reheat it inside of here and squeeze it out and use it again and again and again. I just really like having a lot of these squeeze bottles on hand. The other thing that I really like to have on hand is a nice little paintbrush that I can use to make sure that, the things that I do, if you make a mistake, you can wipe it off with your paintbrush. It's a small brush that can get into those tiny niches, and I just really like it. Okay, this is melting up really nicely here. Still not completely done, but really, really close. Now, just by stirring the unmelted chocolate into the melted chocolate, sometimes that will melt it up for you. So you don't have to stick it back in the microwave again. You just want to stir it and see what happens. So yeah, this is melted really nicely. I would say just probably 30 more seconds for this, and we'll be completely done. Okay. done, 30 seconds. Another tool that I really like to have with my melting chocolate is I like to have some ceramic bowls. The ceramic really helps to retain the heat of the melted chocolate and things like that, so you can use it, work with it for a longer period of time before it kind of, you know, hardens up and dries out and everything. We're gonna just stop at 12 seconds just to make sure. You don't want to burn this. And I think that was a good choice to stop it early because it can burn quite easily. Okay. So this is really good, really nice and fluid. I don't have any big chunks of chocolate that hasn't been melted. And there's a couple little pieces in here that as I'm stirring it, the heat from the rest of the melted chocolate is melting those little pieces so that they're combined as well. You really want to make sure everything is completely melted. You don't want to have any chunks of chocolate left in there because that won't work well. Okay, so we've got our melted chocolate. Now, pour those out there. We've got our 1/3 cup measuring cup, and we're going to put our corn syrup. You want light corn syrup. You don't want the dark stuff. And we'll measure out a 1/3 cup here. And pour that in. You want to make sure you don't get too much. Too much corn syrup can kind of make your modeling clay really stiff. Not enough corn syrup can make it too soft. So you just really want to make sure that you've got it all the right amounts. Okay, so we're going to stir this up, and as I'm stirring it here, it's going to start to seize up and stick together, which is really good. That means that you're getting that corn syrup mixed in. And as soon as it's all mixed in together, this is going to start pulling away from the bowl, and you won't have any melted chocolate left stuck to your bowl. And that's how you know you've got enough. If it comes together like this in a really nice dough, then you know you've got enough chocolate, enough corn syrup. At this stage, you still can kind of save it. If there's not enough corn syrup in it, it's too soft, and there's still melted chocolate everywhere that's not combining, you can add a little bit of melted chocolate into it. If it looks like it's too stiff and maybe there's too much corn syrup in it, you can quickly melt some more chocolate, add it to there, and that will help save it so it's not too stiff. But this is great. This is really good. It's all nice, stuck together. You can see it's pulling away from the bowl nicely. Ooh, it's flipping out everywhere too. Okay, so we're going to pour this out. You can pour it out on a cutting board, on your countertop, on a piece of wax paper. The wax paper usually works really good. And you're just going to let this sit for a couple of hours, depending on how hot your kitchen is or cold. Usually during the winter time, it takes a little bit longer for it to set up. When it's warmer in the kitchen during the summertime, it sets up a little bit better, just because the warmth helps make it all stick together nicely. So we're going to leave this for a couple hours, and it'll set up. I'll be back with some fun modeling chocolate to show you some fun techniques and everything, and I hope you are already as excited as I am to try this.